Hello and welcome to this review of my Epomaker Cypher 21 numpad/macropad/calculator. It's one of several of these pads I've been showing of late. I find things like this to be extremely useful personally. I use a separate numpad and macropad at home, and I use the 8BitDo calculator numpad that I showed in an earlier video at work, so this is right up my alley. Note that this one is missing a foot. I stuck a replacement under it, but it's not quite the same size, so it's going to be a bit wobbly as you see. Now, unlike many other macropads, this is also a calculator with a built-in screen, which is definitely my kind of thing. I really like that. You can switch it between macro/numpad mode and calculator mode by holding down AC for 5 seconds, and in calc mode, it doesn't send scan codes to the PC anymore, obviously. That said, I find that this could have been done better. With the 8BitDo, you just press a single button once, which is much faster than 5 whole seconds of holding down a button, which is completely unnecessary. And not only that, I tend to use it wirelessly and I leave it switched off most of the time. But like the other Epomaker I showed a while ago, it has a beeper in it and it's switched on by default. And it reverts back to that every time it powers down, so you get this annoying beeping noise every time you press a key. It's very deafening, by the way. Between having to hold down AC for 5 seconds and switching off the noise, which you do with AC plus minus, by the way, it's nowhere near as convenient to use, so I'd strongly advise them to change this. It's also not as pretty as the 8BitDo, not by a long shot even, but it could be worse, as they also have a pink version which is just hideous! The display is also nowhere near as cool, as I really love the red lettering on the 8BitDo, and this is harder to read. However, it also has some advantages over the 8BitDo. It comes with a rotary encoder, which the 8BitDo lacks, and it is also fully programmable, unlike the 8BitDo, which is therefore limited to numpad duty, while the Cypher 21 can also function as a macropad. Price-wise, they're nearly identical. It's $45 for the 8BitDo and $40 for the Cypher. That makes it way cheaper than the Keychron Q0 Max, which is $110, but that's on a very different level of build quality, being made out of metal rather than plastic. It weighs more than twice as much actually, and it has way more buttons on it. This is much more of a focused macropad really. The keycaps are thick inverse die-sub PBT, and curiously they went for linear switches in this. Specifically, it's Epomaker's own Wisteria switches. Now, I find this really puzzling myself, as I really rely on tactile feedback when using numpads and macropads, but to each their own I guess. It's hot swappable anyway, so you can stick something more suitable in it if you want. Just like the 8BitDo, it lacks a send function, which is a key that allows you to output the contents of the calculator to the computer. Now, this isn't exactly a standard feature. In fact, I think I've only seen it on XT200 model 3rd generation Focus keyboards, but it is an extremely useful one, so I implore them to add this function as well. Overall, it's a capable little thing with lots of functionality for very little money, but I'd urge them to revise it a little bit with an instant calculator toggle mode, a send function, and having that stupid beep off by default, which they definitely also ought to do on their main keyboards, but apart from that, it's a really good deal, I think. That's it for this review. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and following is a typing demonstration of me typing on this numpad.